can't get it.
But you see how much kidnappers are taking from victims.
My goodness. Problem with I think all these people guys get that, and I think we get that. The 3% for the oil producing community is too low.
So the support that is needed, and once you get the support, your airline people will blossom.
This is Nigeria. You need to give people sense of belonging.
Good morning. Welcome to the last edition for the week Inside Nigeria on Leadership Television. My name is Winifred Ogogo, and I have with me a regular guest on the program, Mr. Majid Dahiru. He's a public affairs analyst, a commentator, and it's always a pleasure to host him on the program.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be here too.
Thank you so much.
Thank God it's Friday.
Yeah, thank God it's
Okay.
Friday. Yes, we'll be discussing some major headline stories from some select newspapers, talking about leadership newspaper, Nigeria's most influential newspaper, its sister publication, National Economy, and two other papers. Now let's flag up with leadership. On leadership this morning says, growing insecurity threatening 2023 general elections. Growing insecurity threatening 2023 general elections. INEC. All eyes are on Nigeria for credible polls, says United States of America. Free critical press essential for consolidation of democracy. Nigerian Guild of Editors. INEC must be shielded from political interference. CSO, civil society organizations. And Mr. Majid.
I don't know why I cannot but help.
Growing insecurity.
Yes.
But have you forgotten, Mr. Majid, that in 2015 I think it was worse then, because Boko Haram was raging. Yet INEC was able to conduct
Elections across board. Well, first, I mean, I always want to commend leadership. I don't know. I was at this event yesterday.
Okay. Oh.
And what leadership is reporting right now is exactly what transpired at the event. It was a town hall meeting that was organized by the Nigerian Guild of Editors.
Yes.
The headline, the riders are on point, they are accurate, they are factual, truthful, and an accurate reflection of the deliberations of yesterday. So, you know, I need to say this because this is what professional journalism is all about. And so leadership is really, really taking the lead.
Thank you.
As one of Nigeria's truly influential newspapers.
Wow.
Because of the truth and the facts that it turned out. So it was the INEC commissioner for, I think, is it the commissioner for education, Barrister Francis Okoye, who represented the election and who actually made the point that look, growing security is threatening the 2023 general elections. And that, you know, it's important for Nigerians to rally around to make sure that we attain some level of peace and security before the elections. And of course, the event was actually partly supported by the US Embassy. And so the representative there also called on the largest democracy in Africa to live up to its billing as a democracy, because all eyes are on us to have a free, fair, and credible election in 2023. Now, a lot of the competitors there also emphasize the need for free press, because democracy cannot thrive without freedom of expression. It's an integral part of democratic good governance. It's a critical ingredient in democracy. And CSOs, as rightly reported, actually made the point that INEC must be shielded from political interference because, let me at this point also commend Mr. President for signing into law the amendment to the Electoral Act. It's a very, in fact, for me, he actually, it was a shock to us. I wasn't expecting it because I didn't think he was going to sign it. So, but when he did, it simply tells us that Nigeria is not irredeemable after all. And the president has done the best thing, that's the best interest of the Nigerian people. So it stands commended, commendable, and we thank the president for doing the needful.
Yes.
So, but beyond that, the CSOs raised the critical issue too. Okay, one thing is all a law, and that is to allow the critical stakeholders to operate the law according to the intent the spirit and letters of the law. So it's important for us to continue advocacy against political interference.
Yes, we almost had that.
It
We
happened
almost had that in the nomination of one of his commissioners then, in the person of
exactly that was said to
Loretta
have political exposure, and one, even
Yes.
the person that was replaced was said to be a member of the
Exactly.
APC. But well, that she has not confirmed. I don't know if she's been inaugurated, but whatever it is, it's important that even if you're a PDP member or an APC member in the commission, you should not be able to advance the interests of your party. That's what the person must be prevented from doing that. So it's important that nothing is done to jeopardize the work of INEC and their independence in the process of conducting this election. So it was a very fruitful deliberation yesterday, very interesting, and if some of the recommendations that we are arrived at yesterday are taken further, I'm sure we have not just a better electoral process, but it will translate into a better Nigeria. Yes. Now back to the issue of building security. We talked about 2015.
Yes.
See, the problem we're having today is that insecurity has actually increased. If you compare 2022 to 2014, which was the year to the
Yes, they will get to
election.
election, yes.
Whereas you are battling with Boko Haram essentially in the northeast. Today you have a multiplicity of armed groups operating across the country. In fact, the activities of killer headsmen, that those we call bandits and now try to call them terrorists, appear to be much more widespread than even the Boko Haram insurgency. And so you have a wider area across the country today that is suffering from insecurity, and most of these places are actually ungoverned. You have a problem of having too much of our authority today in the hands of non-state actors that are actually levying taxes and exercising authority as a pseudo government in some of these places. So these are the threats to the elections that some of these stakeholders are actually voicing out now. So it is actually more than 2015 as we speak. And in 2015, the government of Jonathan had to bring in mercenaries to actually flush out terrorists from the occupied government, 14 of them, to allow for elections. Now, but this time around, we do not know whether we've seen anything new in the approach in the war against terror and security generally, because I think it is still getting worse. The media is simply tired of reporting killings anymore. It's like we've got used to it. So it's no longer news, except the number is very, very high. If it's below 50, for example, media don't report it anymore, because I'm told that when the reporter brings to the editor that 20 people were killed, 10 were killed, like, instead of 50, so not of 50, we don't bother reporting it because daily killings is now the new normal in Nigeria. So it's much worse. So it's a valid point that I think is raising. It's much worse today. Yes.
And our headline story also talked about the Nigerian Guild of Editors saying that free physical press essential for consolidation of democracy.
Sourcing it, but I mean, you can't put better. You need the freedom of the press. If not for freedom of press, we would not have had the opportunity to advocate for the reforms we are seeing now in our electoral process. If there was tagging of the media against freedom of expression, we will not be able to hold government accountable and put the pressure we put on government to sign this law into effect. So it tells you how critical it is. That's not the end of our job as people in the media. We must continue all the way to advocate for the implementation of this law to the letter. We must also advocate for security agencies to discharge their duty with integrity and not interfere with the electoral process on the side of any of the political parties. And we also advocate for political parties to abide by the rules of the game, because most of the problems we face today has to do with the fault structures in our political parties, the undemocratic disposition of our political parties. And so it's important that the media be allowed the freedom to continue to advocate for a better democratic structure in Nigeria in order to usher in good governance. Democratic good governance is actually the ultimate goal of democratic system of government. It is good governance. So without the good governance aspect of democracy, democracy cannot be sustained. Yes, so it's important that the freedom of the press is sacrosanct and it is upheld by all assembly without interference from government.
Yeah, thank you so much. And from leadership news, before we're moving over to a sister publication, National Economy. Let's see what National Economy is saying this Friday, March 4th, 2022. No respite as logistics challenges, insecurity, prolonged fuel scarcity. No respite as logistics challenges, insecurity, prolonged fuel scarcity. No respite as logistics challenges, insecurity, prolonged fuel scarcity. That is on national economic this morning. Honestly, we are having the challenges of long queue at the filling station still persist despite assurances to the contrary.
We are in a major energy crisis.
Mm,
And again, this is a cumulative failure of successive governments in 1999. Uh, we've not been able to put in place infrastructure, critical infrastructure in the oil and gas industry
mm,
that can guarantee for Nigeria energy security. So right now, Nigeria's energy security is heavily challenged because we are dependent on importation of fuel
yeah,
by private entities. In fact, it was during this petroleum crisis, scarcity, that it got to our knowledge that NNPC, contrary to the entrenched narrative, is not actually the importer of petrol.
mm,
So NNPC is actually outsourcing that responsibility to the old importers we used to know.
mm.
And it came to us almost like a shock,
Sure.
like a betrayal. It was like, so NNPC cannot even import on its own
Mm,
without subletting this outsourcing this responsibility to the regular, oil companies in Nigeria that have been involved in oil importation since for how long? So it tells you that unlike other oil producing countries, other OPEC members, whose governments are taking the lead, without prejudice to private investment. No, but governments are taking the lead
mm,
in providing energy security for their people by maximizing their natural endowment.
mm,
Nigeria, on the contrary, is running an economic system that I do not understand where it was copied from. You see, when we talk about government's role in business, it is for
mm.
avoidance of today's situation.
Situation.
But I'm quick to point out that after the government was involved in the past, and it was done so before, I'm saying, government wasn't involved in the past on the positive side. It was a disruptive involvement, corrupt involvement. I'm not saying it is not supposed to be so. From Russia to Saudi Arabia, from Qatar to the United Arab Emirates to Iran, any other country, including China, including Malaysia, Brazil, the governments of these countries are fully involved in exploration, processing, refining, exploitation, and marketing of petroleum products so that they can provide energy security. Because you know that the critical building blocks of an economy is power and energy. So government cannot leave that entirely in the hands of so-called private enterprise.
Mm,
We don't have the responsibility to come in to make sure that it's available and affordable. Availability, accessibility, and affordability is what defines energy security. Now, the way other economies are structured, if you look at Gazprom, for example, Gazprom of Russia is a state-owned company. It is the company that supplies most of the gas that Europe consumes. About 40% of the gas supplies to Europe comes from Gazprom. 40%. Now, Gazprom has partners in Mobil, in Chevron, in Shell. But the government still retains a majority shareholding in the structure. So that most of the revenue coming from this massive exportation of gas
mm,
comes into the government coffers and not into the coffers of the individuals.
mm,
I was reading yesterday that Dangote Cement in Obajana
mm,
made a net revenue of over 1.4 trillion naira.
mm.
And I'm like, the budget of my state that is largely unimplemented because of lack of fund is it's less than 150 billion naira per annum. Meaning that if the state government had owned that corporation
Yes.
and run it professionally as Dangote is doing, that 1.4 trillion
That come to the
must come
state
to the
government.
state government. So we must rethink our energy policy vis-a-vis our economic philosophy. I want to insist today that we can't solve the problem by wishful thinking. And I little that the current administration can talk about this matter anymore. It's already too late in the day. We want to see state governments, particularly oil producing states
Mm.
set up refineries. With the solution the plan is to build refineries and it has local capacity to refine. Now, that hotel refinery is not enough to solve this problem because you need to buy crude at the rate of international market price. And his refinery is not obliged to sell in the domestic market. So if you can't afford it, you will export it still.
Yes,
So you need an industry that has government presence in order to take care of this social component. For example, if states in the Niger Delta are able to float refineries,
mm.
the federal government can approve crude sales to them at discounted rates.
Mm.
In fact, they can even allocate blocks to them, dedicated blocks, to say, exploit these blocks for the purpose of a refinery. You're not to export one barrel of crude from this particular field. You are supposed to use it completely to service your refineries. So you can sell petrol at an affordable price that will be accessible and affordable to Nigerians.
Mm.
This is how a common sense economy should apply. But until we have this concerted effort, and everybody agrees now that government has a role to play beyond just policy, regulations, and what do you call it, monitoring.
Mm.
So actually being a player, we will continue to have this problem. And this is my honest view. We need to have local refining capacity, and only government can make that possible. All over the world, that has been the experience. The largest refinery in the US, I'll make the example again, belongs to Saudi Aramco, a state-owned company. Now, another very large refinery in the US belongs to the Venezuelan country as an entity. It is, and this is the trend all over the world. Yes, we have private refineries, no doubt, but you also have government-owned refineries. The two must go hand in hand. And until we adopt that approach, we will keep going in the circle. We will not be out of this problem. We've been on this road since 1999. Talking about the regulating, talking about more subsidy, that's not the issue. Subsidy is not the problem. Everybody the world must subsidize either education, healthcare, energy, power, housing. One should remember for the city, it is a right of the citizens to have certain, concession from their government. That is the reason why you have government in the first place. So the problem is not subsidy. We can't even afford to buy petrol. If you want the current price is already too high. And that is why the scarcity and the slight hike in the price now has practically crippled the economy, as we speak. It has increased hardship. It has worsened it. Because we've tied our energy security to the uncertainties of the international market. Why will you be an import-dependent economy in petroleum products as an oil-producing country? It is a paradox. It is ironical. It is oxymoronic, and it's something that shouldn't have happened in the first place. And should be discontinued.
Thank you so much for that. Well, let's go on the break. When we come back, we'll be looking at the other papers we have on our menu this morning. Don't go away.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Yes, welcome back. This is Inside Nigeria on Leadership Television. We discuss major news headlines on some select newspapers. And we just looked at leadership, Nigeria's most influential national economy. And we are moving over to the Punch newspaper. It's the next on our menu. Let's see what Punch is saying. On the Punch headline news says, governors fume over falling FAAC funds, carpet NNPC. Governors fume over falling FAC funds, carpet NNPC. NNPC not meeting FAC obligation but declaring profit. Oil sector opaque. Fayemi, the chairman of Nigerian Governors Forum. Firm Zero Remittance shows Nigeria's bankruptcy. Akeredolu, the governor of Ondo State. Fear scarcity not abating. Governors fume over falling FAC funds. Carpet NNPC. NNPC not meeting FAC obligations but declaring profits. Oil sector opaque. That is a governor's chairman of Nigerian Governors Forum, Fayemi. And from Akeredolu, that is Ondo State Governor, he says Firm Zero Remittance shows Nigeria's bankruptcy. That is NNPC's remittance shows Nigeria's bankruptcy. Their scarcity not abating. This is all on Punch newspaper this Friday, March 4, 2022.
The governor's concern over falling FAC funds is a clear indication of absolute leadership failure in this country.
I saw the story yesterday. I was actually amused, just like
I mean, I don't know how to cry, but to laugh.
yesterday night.
I don't know what to just think. This is one of the headlines that makes you begin to wonder if something is not wrong with us as a people. Is it a genetic problem we're having as a race? I'm sorry, I'm black man, so I can't be accused of racism. But something is wrong with our leadership structure. Something is just wrong. Imagine governors talking about fact. Oh my God, where do we start from for analyzing this issue? We are talking about fact, meaning from Fayemi to Akeredolu to all of them. None of them has been able to win their states of dependency from federal allocation. Something is wrong actually, and that is why I'm saying that we need a new set of leadership in this country. These people, these ones have no idea. They don't know what they are doing. There's some words I don't want to use, but I'm sure you know the kind of words I'm talking about. These ones have no business being in power at any level. All of them, even the most eloquent among them, those who pretend to be civil society people, those who pretend, even those that are senior officers of Nigeria among them, they do not and are not supposed to be in government. Do you know why governments are still depending on fact all this while? They are not doing business. They don't have any state oil enterprise that they are running. What are they doing? They only collect money every month and spend. So the best of them will spend it on some infrastructure and will clap. The question is, what is this state actually doing to generate money beyond taxation? And you can't generate money through taxation. I keep saying it. I've said it over and over again. It is voodoo economy to think.
And you know, if I may cut in, when River State Governor Wike took the issue of VAT to court, you know, some states, we saw some states like going to be begging that they should be their brother's keeper.
Exactly.
That they don't have.
Besides, even Wike that took the case to court, to me, the fact shouldn't rule over tax. You know what I'm saying is, tax revenue is actually VAT or all forms of tax and levies. It's a form of inelastic revenue.
I agree.
Because you see, your VAT, your tax, your duties at the port, your licensing fees, all depends on government spending from oil money. It is fact that drives all of it.
Oh yes.
Government sells crude. That's the major earner from exports. Sell crude, bringing the money, so you distribute to the states. Government spends on pay contractors, pay salaries, fund projects. State government do them. So the businesses arising from this spending now also pay taxes. So if there is any reduction in fact, as we are saying today, tax revenue will definitely reduce as well. Because there's no external stimulus by way of external inflow from any other source apart from crude oil. Now the question is, finally, for example, what are you doing with the vast agricultural potentials of Ekiti State? How come it has not become a net exporter of organic yam produce that is much required in Europe and North America? How come you, as Fayemi, as educated as Fayemi can be, or is, how come Fayemi has not oriented the state economy of Ekiti instead of endowed with rich agricultural potentials to take advantage of the AGOA agreement with America or the European Partnership for Development with EU to penetrate markets with products from the state that can bring in revenue so that even if VAT drops to zero, Ekiti will not feel it. The question should be asking. Okay, how have they cut down on their own expenses and luxuries as executive governors? These are governors that should be staying in their states to do what? To think, soil their hands by working to grow the economy. Guess what? Most of them are always in Abuja, attend one political meeting or the other. It's just scandalous that a state chairman of a war-torn state like Yobe is the chairman, is the state governor like a war-torn state like Yobe, is the governor, is the chairman of APC, so to speak. And they're preoccupied with getting people to the capital APC. I don't understand how you can have turn around to come and open your, to express kind of shocking concern when none of you are sitting down in your states to work hard to grow the economy. None of you. I said the only state that I've seen that is making giant strides in this regard is Akwa Ibom. With its airline and other state-owned enterprises. Today, Akwa Ibom airline has become the preferred airline. Most people tell you they are much more like even if it's not 100%. If they can sustain this and build over time, that is a major revenue earner for Akwa Ibom. On a scale that has surpassed what they get for FARC. This is what every state should be doing. Imagine a state like Rivers. Instead of Wike fighting for VAT revenue, Wike should build a refinery in that state that will sell refined products and make money. Go and build refineries. If you're doing flyover, it's perfect. Do refineries, please. You should be refining products in that state, petrochemical products and all other ancillary hydrocarbon derivatives, so that you can use that to grow your revenue. Imagine if Rivers is contributing, even if it's 1 billion liters of petrol to Nigeria a year. You know what that will bring it back to that state? So to Bayelsa, Delta, Akwa Ibom, Edo, Imo, Abia, these are all producing states. Abia State, for example, is one state that has endowment in terms of the human capital. People that have the capability to convert, raw materials to finished garments and food. What is the state government doing to harness this? What are they doing? And what is the government like? The governor of Anambra State, Professor Osoludo. I think we need to see what we have to offer, because if Osoludo fails as governor like these other people, Nigeria should lose up in democracy. Because it means even the best of our best are not able to govern democratically in a manner that will yield good governance and the accompanying security and welfare of citizens. So it means that Nigeria will begin to question the very essence of democracy. Since 1999, governors, no state government in Nigeria has been able to become less dependent on FARC. I think it's an embarrassing situation. I think it's a shame. All of our crowd like we should bury their heads in shame. It is very shameful. FARC at this point in time, 2 million barrels per day oil revenue for 200 million people. It is unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. It's heartbreaking, honestly. It tells that there is no hope. That those that are governing us there's no way out of this lockdown. It's so clear. We are just sharing the nationality. I heard the governor of Edo, I think among them, he made the most point in his reaction to this. Rather than complain, he said something. He said, the national cake has been overshared. Now we need to begin to bake. That is the most progressive statement as part of the governor forum by just one individual. And it has been my consistent position, either here or any other program I've been, that we are oversharing the national cake. There's no person that survives on sharing. It's not possible. You survive on productivity. And what I'm saying, we need urgently an integrated national economic plan that ties every component part of Nigeria to an export competitive economy that can bring in revenues to the mango plantations of Benue, bring in revenues to the potato farms in Plateau, bring in revenues to the industries of Aba, of Nnewi, bring in massive influx of shopping tourists into the markets of Onitsha. We have to do this. This is something we need to do.
Market of hides and skin from
Hides from Kano. We
Abia.
need to Abia and export it through Port Harcourt
Exactly.
into the West Africa market and bring it. We need to do all of this. And it starts with a deliberate and purposeful government policy that seeks to first unite us around a common cause. Around this common cause, also competitiveness, we need to unite. We need a leadership that can bring us together and say, look, Let us stop fighting ourselves over this major change. It's time to come together and increase this so that when time decides to increase and we share from it, it will be enough as we are still making more. As we are still making more. So it's unfortunate that nobody is thinking yet. And that's why if each time you ask me about the next election, I'll tell you the agenda is for us to unite for the purpose of competing globally. That's the agenda forward. We can, even if you bring all the money from crude oil sales, it cannot sustain us. It's not enough. It is not. It is not. Especially in a country that is as corrupt as Nigeria. Even the available, the very few that is available, people will sell themselves to it before dispersing the others. So we need to grow the size. So governors should be thinking. Let me tell you, you don't need restructuring for governors for states to develop. You don't need it. No. And I'm happy that the last encumbrance to development in the states may have been moved by the National Assembly. States can now generate, transmit, and distribute power.
Yes.
So no more excuse. Even though they could do it through the NIPP before, but it's now a little bit more complicated. This is that you can take ownership of your electricity and your railways. Yes. Let us start from there.
Even airports, it's not on the preserve of them.
My dear sister, even before now, state government had the most important capital of economic activity, the most important, the most fundamental, which is land. Government had control of land constitutionally. With that, no state should have complained. Land administration is vested in states. So only thing that federal government has control of is what is innate in the land. Most places, mineral resources. But you see, land, even a barren land is useful. Yes, even a barren land. The governors are not thinking because every month they came on from FAC. So I've advocated that they need to think about the constitution to stop FAC allocation. Because if I and co will not get FAC revenue every month, I think they would have been forced to either leave the state for people that know how to think, to create wealth, or they will be forced to think properly. But because everybody have 4 or 5 billion, even that's why this not for.
You just come to Abuja to collect.
And collect it, so they can afford to be
No, that's-
every single up and down.
That's why I'm bringing now the issue of the electoral amendment law now, not that Buhari has signed. Do you think it has a correlation between with the law that we have in place now with good governance?
It
should be able to help to bring
because now Nigerians must be properly guided. Very, very important. Now what this position is going on. Let me tell you one of the reasons why fire means and crime is sustaining power in 1999. Identity politics. Any country that decides not to be united and involve a national identity where citizenship is sacrosanct. And we allow ourselves to be divided along tribal and religious lines. This is what we get. Yes. What is sustaining this set of incompetent employees for capacity to actually embrace identity politics? The Nigerians should sit down and go and put along the tribal line and come and sit down and be problem about governance. I have said residency, political parties have a role to play. If indeed they are serious, it's their responsibility to mobilize Nigerians now. What's the next election? To begin to align their individual economic interests with their democratic choices. How do I mean? And I will state it again. Ordinarily, you and I live in Abuja. They are supposed to actually vote where we live and participate in the politics of where we live, where we pay taxes, where we work, so that we can say, okay, now that I voted for you, what I want is my taxes should be used to construct roads from here to here, to improve my electricity and my security. That's why I'm voting for you. So I'm not going to take money from you. I don't need it. I'm not going to. If I will donate money to you, even if need be, because I want you to improve my economy. Now, until Nigeria begin to align their interest with the democratic choices in this manner, we will still have this problem. The electoral act will be ineffective because if you vote along tribal lines, it will be free and fair. But you throw leaders that are only concerned about how to cover corner the general purse for certain political interests. I'll come back again and cry. So I've told people that came to me that I should, for example, you should cover this strike and join politics. As lecturers, whether you're Hausa, whether you're Igbo, Muslim, Christian, Yoruba, anybody you are. But ASU is now a new tribe. So if ASU is interested in this thing in pursuing since 2009, ASU should make all ASU members to vote for a candidate along these ideals in block, as it should be a block vote for particular party of candidates. So ASU should sit down with the leading contenders and say, look, this is what we want you to do for us. And when you have commitment with any of them and you feel satisfied, ASU should even remove penny from their salary and support the candidate. Knowing that you didn't give us money. So you all need to do to go there and implement this. If the medical association does the same thing, the guild of editors do the same, NUJ does the same, mechanic association does the same, everybody down first to okay, look, I think your policy aligns more with ours. We want you to do this, I agree to do this, and they agree. And we all align like this. Policy will now begin to reflect issues. And there will be less pressure on the political aspirants themselves to go and be looking for money to buy vote. But actually, that problem is identity politics has a reward system that is just patronage. And what is patronage? In simple terms, I want to contest election, for example. If you're my tribesman, I use my tribe to approach you. And you know that other tribe, they're pressing us. So I have to come and challenge them. It's our turn. You support me because of that. Even if you are in Abuja as a lecturer and continue to ask you will go home and support this particular interest and come and say that how does it work? Now then I will not bring money. For those that are in the other side that will not work with on top, I will have to buy them over. I go to the political parties, I'll purchase delegates as the highest bidder emerge. All of these processes, I need to recoup from fact now. I don't know, I need to recoup this from fact.
That's just what happened.
But if I come and say, look, I have a plan, the bank with a plan. I don't look at it. I don't have collateral, but don't want to fund it. Plan. That's how politics is run in developed economies. Come to a plan that is integrated, that carries everybody, puts on the table. I look at it. I look at the alternative. Two good plans. But if I feel that this is much more realistic, I will vote for it. So, and in voting for it, I will not expect you to give money. What I'm expecting is good governance as a reward. But you come to me and tell me it is on top. So I think if you win now, even if you're on top, will you give me commission? I say yes. So if you give me that commission now, I see it as my reward for working for you. So I'll convert the budget in that ministry to my personal activity. I'm bringing my friends and family as contractors. I will stop every available space with my own political supporters, and they'll be there thinking that, well, this is their own share too, or this is their own reward for also working for me, to work for you. So they work for government, they work for themselves, and the chain continues like that.
You know, the scenario you just described, that's what gives birth to what these ghost workers that they talk about.
People don't know that's what it is.
Because the previous governor or leader in place would have also packed his people. So when the other one comes and he will not say, no, I want to screen, they are ghost workers.
That's the only reward system. So they don't work. The employer will just put them on the payroll. Because the state is not productive. If state was productive, you will still employ more people because you will now have a need to employ because there's something coming in. Imagine, for example, again, go to places like Rivers or even Dangote cement in Kogi. If Kogi was able to float 10 cement factories along the border bed that is rich in limestone, 10 state-owned with partnerships. Like Dangote can be there, but maybe Kogi will have 51% share, for example. And all of these 10 factories are supplied in over Nigeria and exporting. Do you know the quantum of jobs that this will create in the value chain? So the jobs we are stopping people for that are not doing anything will not be employed productively to increase the cake for more employment in a sustainable manner. But they're not thinking. Nobody is thinking about this. As we go to this election, the same issue is what is on the table. Whose turn is it? Whose tribe? Which religion? These are the things. And if you look at countries like Nigeria that had similar problems or still having similar problems, it ended in state failure. From Sudan to Rwanda, to Rwanda, to Lebanon, to Afghanistan, Iraq, name it. Even India is having this problem. Whatever India's potential in the world, India has a divided identity. Muslims on one side, Hindus. So India is having that problem because they've not been able to, really evolve each other against society. Why India is still as poor as it is. So we need to we need to move beyond this level. We're like we're operating at a level that is just slightly above animalistic thinking. Yes, slightly. We're not too different from lesser animals.
And how do we get out of this level?
We need
This
we need
identity
leadership,
crisis?
but the people themselves must set up agenda. You know, for so long,
That's why my attention is always on the youth. The youth, they are the majority in
Yes.
Nigeria's population. If
Yes.
they could just, because I don't think there's, you see what they did with NSAS protests as they all came to.
do you know how NSAS collapsed?
Yes. Irrespective of tribe,
Thank you.
religion.
Somebody
they came back.
saw that and collapsed it.
Mm,
NSAS was a very successful movement.
it was.
It was not violent.
It was not bad.
On the first Friday of NSAS, we saw Muslims praying Jumat, cases
Oh,
mounting there.
beautiful sight.
That was all. Those who are ruling on said that this should not be allowed to continue. First, they went to the mosques all over northern Nigeria. I started preaching that protest is haram. And then they demonized Aisha Yusuf so much. I wonder how that man survived the mental trauma. It was
I'm
hell.
saying that singularity of mind.
And
purpose,
so
they
they
can
so
also
they brought,
use it.
so the people that are supposed to have encouraged that. It's okay.
Now in this fourth
Now that these
election,
children have actually united, let us allow
Yes.
them to continue this unity towards the election. They broke it. They introduced tribalism and religion
it's
and
done.
brought the line. But something happened. Yes, most Northerners pulled out of NSAS. NSAS didn't happen in the north. But something happened in the north. As much as happened in the south. The invasion of warehouses to go and carry food.
Oh yes.
Because hunger in the south is common with hunger in the north.
It has no
Has no religion. That's
no
not-
religion.
So you saw Christian Muslims cooperating to loot. It was that right actually quelled the crisis. That rice you saw that people stole. Because when people are busy eating their rice, they forget about the height to subside until now again. So what am I saying in
That's
essence?
singularity of purpose.
You need a political party now to mobilize along that line.
Yes.
To reenact that and say, look, as youths, we have a common destiny.
Yes.
But unfortunately,
You're going to fold your hands.
we've not seen a charismatic figure in the political opposition that can do this. All over the world, you need such charismatic figures to mobilize the base. Before 2015, John Muhammadu Buhari, that was the most charismatic.
No, of course.
And his own mobilization was a bit narrow and parochial. So he used this narrow dominance, to come to power. And so it will divide us more. The same way Narendra Modi of India is also dividing India along Hindu Muslim lines. So we've not had any other person apart from him. In 2019, a lot of young guys came up. Not had the charisma and the knowledge, the deep knowledge based and understanding of this issue to bring out messages and galvanize. None of them was able to achieve
They are not
it.
able to, even as we speak.
None of them. In other countries, look at Zelensky of Ukraine. Zelensky was a young man. He was able to mobilize. He was charismatic. In fact, before he became presidency, it was speculated that he was the most popular person and he should contest. He was charismatic, even as a comedian, even as an entertainer. In Pakistan, Imran Khan was an international sports figure, a celebrity of some sort. So he used that charisma to mobilize his opposition. Look at Malema in South Africa. He's gradually building his base up. Yes, he may be a bit radical and off the course because he is dealing with issues of race. We don't have such issues there. So all we need is somebody who is articulate, somebody who is realistic, somebody who has what it takes to galvanize a pan-Nigerian movement around his own vision for the development of Nigeria. We've not seen it.
Jerry Lawrence was like that in Ghana.
Lawrence was like that in Ghana. Obama was like that in America.
Yes, he was.
So you need that figure. People will follow, but people want good governance. The problem is some of them don't know what good governance entails on how to go about or how to go about it. So it requires a leadership of some sort. All over the world, revolutions are led by such leaders. In the case of Nigeria, what we need is a democratic revolution, that is, mobilize Nigerians to vote for the right cause. So we need to have somebody settle this template clearly. Unfortunately, the big parties are not doing that because they are already enjoying the status quo. So they're not. Someone would have expected that the newer parties, beginning from yesterday, not even today, today was a little late, but not too late. We should start seeing this movement, and I'm sure Nigerians will follow. You may not win all in the first instance, but what you do is,
yes.
when you win one or
Already
two
set
states,
up.
or you win one or two cities,
Mm.
for example, I had expected for these newer parties to have targeted within AMAC. You know why?
Mm.
Abuja has a population of very educated and enlightened people. So it is easy to go door to door and campaign strongly for a set of ideas they want to implement in Abuja that will improve our lives using whatever comes to AMAC. And how you can, it's easy to convince an educated mind on. So they would have invented selection and used AMAC as an example
Yes.
of what they intend to do when they get to power. So by the time you run AMAC for the next 6 months to 1 year, and people in AMAC see clear changes, clear turnaround. I mean, you go to Lugbe, you go to all AMAC areas, and you start seeing road people, and then AMAC doing the roads. You don't need too much talk anymore for others to do that. What we've done here, we can replicate. But then you win a member of House of Reps, and another member goes to House of Reps and refuses to partake in corruption. Refuses. They're going for oversight function. He doesn't accept money from the person that goes to oversight for that logistics or accommodation. He goes there with a small bag, attend the function, enter night bus, and don't do that. But people know that these lawmakers, this is the attitude. More people want to have some lawmakers in their constituencies. And before you know what, over time, you have a comprehensive electric change from this one that are 10 over 5 to the next one. But unfortunately, this is not happening. And there's no purpose of it happening for now. But we'll keep talking. That's the role we play as media practitioners.
Yes. People like you too, public affairs and
that's the only thing we need to do.
Yes, from the Punch newspaper, we move over to the last paper we have on our menu this morning, and that is Vanguard. Vanguard says Abba Kyari faces dismissal by police, trial by NDLEA. Abba Kyari faces dismissal by police, trial by NDLEA. Police moved to dismiss Abba Kyari before extradition to provide him opportunity to clear himself. Source. NDLEA files 8-count charge against him, 6 others. Wow.
Honestly, the Abba Kyari story.
The story.
I don't know. Honestly. Well, I was never so impressed though by his showmanship on social media. I believe that the police force should be a compact force, and no individual should be seen taking the glory for the function of an institution, especially a security agency. I believe that what we just say that police is efficient, as simple as that. And then maybe at the end of his career, because he would have been rewarded internally, promotions, medals, commendations, fine awards. And maybe at the end of his retirement, it will now come to light that, hey, this period that we used to have, those actually worked. So people actually did. So fine. But when I'm still in service, I don't particularly support the idea of singling out an officer for praise. I don't really, I think it's the structure of the system. And unfortunately, this guy actually scammed the whole country. Think that was super cool. And the media, because we're a set of heroes in Nigeria, the media was quick to want to celebrate one good egg among so many rotten eggs in the basket. And what did we do? We ended up promoting Abba Kyari as a super cup. And under that call of super cup, the guy apparently committed a lot of atrocities. When I watched the video of his drug transactions with the NDLEA undercover agent, it tells you of somebody who's a hardened criminal and an experienced drug baron, but already knew prices of the items background, he read the market, he already had money. Meaning he is well connected in the drug cartel already.
Do you also see it as a failure of the system that Abba Kyari represents? Because we always have situations, for instance, during the notorious notorious armed robber in Benin, Edo State then, it was also a police officer, Yamu. Was also
let me
we have had issues like this.
Let me relate it. It's more than a failure of system. Let me relate it to the issue we talked about earlier. Do you know who are repeated into the police force? I'll tell you something. The other day I saw a senator posing with 7 naval officers, newly recruited naval officers. Not Frank Affair, Officer Cadet. And he posted at one of his constituency projects. the senator election ago, the toy
Okay,
shop,
Mama.
the toy shop.
We talked about him this morning, incidentally.
I was so disturbed that so this according to defense institutions. I sent a video to a senior military officer and said, has it gotten to this level? When recruitment to defense agencies, defense apparatus, it's not by recommendation by a senator, but this has been the case in the Nigerian police force and general civil service. It comes back to the reason the patronage I'm telling you about. You see, Nigeria, I've been in the National Assembly once. I was in the senator's office when they called Kevin that they needed 5 slots on the Senate for police recruitment. I was like, okay, I know this person. I'm just, yeah, you know, one of my brothers that want to be one of the police officer. I quickly called them. I go to them. I wrote it down. But it tells you something. I only called somebody that I knew was my friend and my close associate. I said, but you can't work, you have a job. Why not join police? And said, what's your feeling to me? I said, the police force to do. That person didn't want to be police force. He called the police to petrol into the reward system. He owes allegiance to me and my ethnic group because he believed that I put him there. Now, what that person will do, among many other things, include one, I can call him at any time today and I will influence, obstruct justice because of his influence. I can even escape justice.
So somebody said that there's so many Abakari in.
It's beyond system failure.
Yes.
It's Nigeria's failure.
Yes.
So that person will do anything I want. But I can break traffic lights and my manager will call him and say,
Yes.
let's put your voice.
Some of us have done it.
That's the issue. Now it goes beyond law sometimes. When he gets a certain rank, he can now collect bribe a mass to overlook certain things or condone because that money is also needed to take back home to settle medical bills. Because it is better that as a big man, you have been put in the police. As you're going, you also going to back home to show the effort that this man helped you to do. So from contract inflation, from all sorts of corrupt practices, it now sometimes degenerates to something like what I've been carrying. So okay, this is cocaine now. And they have been arrested. After the cocaine will be destroyed, would it not be destroyed? It will be destroyed. Should not be destroyed. One of those, let's sell it and use dummies. This is a very normal occurrence in the security system. It is not something that is seen as a big deal. It's normal. Normal. So it's normal, for example, to see a young police officer, a DC, living in a very big mansion, and nobody questions the salary. Can I buy this house? You see that this is opportunity this time. But rather people be struggling to be taken to that same position that made him able to buy mansion. Normal, it's a normal life. If I was saying to go and lobby the idea and say, one of my brother is in police force, he doesn't have good posting. But if someone wants good posting, security agencies. So what about Gary did is not something that is actually so abnormal. No. This is the normal, this is the normalized abnormality across the country, across all systems. People profit, people have converted their responsibilities in government. It's not as if nobody's serving the government, nobody, or the country, nobody. And it's not on the head, down to the toe. So it's not anybody's, nobody is immune from this, honestly. So what this should do for us as a country is a wake-up call. There are many Abakaris in the police force. More Abakaris than one. Many more. And the Abakaris everywhere, in all spheres of public lives. It is a symptom of the dysfunctionality of the Nigerian state. When you have a country where shared is the norm, Abakari is simply having himself full by converting that same place to his own. What Abakari is doing? Somebody told me that when he went to Borno to attend the wedding, and it's not Abakari. They need to see how popular Abakari is in Borno. Very popular. Crowd going up and down. A street is never in Borno. Yes. And he didn't start Abakari. Not the governor that you elected, or that minister that was appointed. And suddenly became a big man, built a mansion in the village, comes home, calls a party, share Tomboliko, share clothes, share money, and is given traditional title. There's no difference between him and Abakari. No difference. No, nothing is a difference.
It's just a metaphor. Abakari is a metaphor for what is happening,
It's
or
not
what is
different,
wrong in
In Nigeria, it's started gradually. We condone it one time. We thought it's our own share, it's our son, it's our son, it's our this, it's our that. It's about become free for all. It's now affecting us. You know, it's like a household where everybody's working at good purposes. And so eventually the house is now leaking, roof is leaking, the plumbing is bad, everything. The whole thing has collapsed here. And that's what is happening to Nigeria now. That's what it is.
what is summation? Wow. Mr. Majid, it's always a pleasure, as I said earlier, to have you on our program. I hope to see you next week Friday as my guest on the program. Well, viewers, unfortunately, we've come to the end of today's program, Inside Nigeria, where we dissected some major news headlines on some select newspapers. Today is Friday, thank God it's Friday, and don't forget, it's everyone's collective responsibility to ensure security. So stay safe. Until I come your way again next week, Monday, have a beautiful weekend. I remain Winifred. Bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.